Hello and welcome to my Mr. Negative full in-depth guide. Today we're going to be talking about one of my all-time favorite characters in the game. This guy does not get the attention that he deserves. Everything that I see is, there's a lot of misconceptions going on right now. This guy is, I guarantee you, much better than you're expecting. So first things first, let's go over his abilities. Alright, so jumping over into his abilities page, we're going to start breaking down what he's got going on. So first things first, always active, he's got immunity to Nullify, Stagger, and Fate Seal. This is going to be a huge deal against a lot of Mystic matchups. Additionally, he's also going to become Degeneration immune. He reduces his potency by 40% for each unique debuff that they're suffering. With the Awakened ability, this means that he can constantly heal from Degeneration. This is huge for matchups such as Dormammu and Mojo and a few others. And then additionally, we've got the Evade Counterattack, which we're going to see a bunch of times come into play. This is a core bit of his mechanic. It does do a burst of damage, and the opponent will not generate any attack power from said attack. Next bit of info that we have is regarding his heavy attacks. So very important here, this is a core mechanic of his. While he's charging his heavy attack, while he has one or more light energy, which we're also going to visit later, he will evade counterattack, very similarly to Elsa Bloodstone's counterattack. You can combo after this, you can throw your specials after this. This is a very, very, very important piece of his kit. Additionally, on his heavy attack, the first hit will grant you a Fury buff, granting a small amount of attack for 10 seconds, however this does stack. These Fury buffs will give him the ability to deal with matches such as buffed up, or in other scenarios where you want to increase your damage. Due to them stacking, this can lead to big degeneration damage from the special too. Next up, we're going to look at his light and dark energy passives. First off, we have light energy. Now, whenever you or the opponent performs a well-timed block or parries, you're going to gain +2 light energy charges. Additionally, whenever you dash back and you have buffs on yourself, Mr. Negative will convert each one into 1 light energy charge per buff removed. Additionally, this light energy does stack up to 20 times and lasts indefinitely up until 10 stacks, after which it begins to expire over 6 seconds. During this time, you're going to want to heavy charge so that you can perform your counterattack, or throw your special wand to convert those charges into dark energy, which we're going to go over next. Next up, we're going to be looking at Mr. Negative's Dark Energy passive. Now, whenever Mr. Negative performs an evade or is knocked down, all of his light energy is going to be converted into dark. This lasts indefinitely until reaching 10 stacks, after which it'll start to expire over 16 seconds. This is where your big damage is going to come from off of the special too, and we'll show off those effects here shortly. Additionally, whenever you convert your light into dark energy, you're going to inflict a delirium debuff for 0.8 seconds per light energy converted. This will decrease the opponent's power rate by 60%, and it'll invert their dash and dodge controls, which isn't really going to be important in normal content, but it will be annoying on defense. Moving on to his special attacks, we've got his special one. On activation, you're going to gain a Bulwark passive for 30 seconds, increasing your block proficiency by quite a lot for each light energy converted, and then also convert all of your light energy into dark energy. Additionally, the last hit is going to place an exhaustion debuff on the opponent, which is going to be helpful when paired with his SIG ability on dealing just passive direct damage. Moving on, we've got our special 2 attack. Now, this is easily your most important special attack using Mr. Negative. The first hit is going to place a very potent 80% Petrify debuff, reducing regen and ability power rate, like I said, by 80% for 20 seconds. The second hit, if you have 10 or more dark energy, is going to actually place a second one, therefore reducing regen and power rate by 160%. This is a lot of reversal. This is huge in regen and passive power gain matchups. The third and final hit, however, is going to place a degen debuff, dealing a lot of damage over 10 seconds. The final hit will also remove all active dark energy and place an additional degeneration for each dark energy consumed. This means that if you have, say, 10 dark energy when you throw this special, you're going to get 11 total degenerations, dealing a lot of damage to the opponent. Finally, in our specials department, we have our special 3 attack. Now, Now this has a couple of unique effects based on how much light and dark energy you have at the time of activation. For each light energy that is consumed by this attack, you're going to get a small chunk of health back, giving you a bit of sustainability through the fight. For each dark energy that is consumed, however, you're going to deal a burst of direct damage to the opponent for each that is consumed. Honestly, I don't use this attack very often. I think that it's much better to go for the special 2 and get the large degen and petrify on the opponent. Moving on, we have our Awakened ability. Now my Mr. Negative is only Sig 41 currently, however I do plan on taking him higher for a few reasons. This is not needed whatsoever to play the champion well, however. If you don't have an Awakening Gem or Sig Stones to throw into him, don't worry, you really don't need it. It is nice to have in some very specific scenarios, but again, it is not needed to play the champion correctly. So the first thing is that whenever a Nullify, Stagger, or Fate Seal is prevented due to his immunity to those effects, you're going to deal a burst of physical damage to the opponent. This isn't going to be super noticeable, but it is nice to have just to have a little bit of extra burst damage. It will add up through the matchup against things like Mystics. The next line, however, is, in my opinion, the most important part of his Sig ability. Now, whenever you are suffering from a degeneration, whether that is passive or active debuff, you're going to be regenerating quite a bit of health per second. This combined with his ability to reduce degeneration potency through the matchup due to his unique debuffs on the opponent means that you're going to be healing from pretty much any degeneration that is going to be placed on you as long as you're playing the champion correctly. Next, we have the ability to gain a small amount of energy resistance for each light energy that you have. This, however, isn't going to come into play very often, to be honest with you, because in most fights you're not going to be stacking up light energy and consistently having them stacked for a long time. However, this last bit states that each dark energy deals a bit of physical damage for every second the opponent is suffering from a non-damaging debuff. This is very similar to Void in a sense that you're just going to be constantly dealing small direct damage to the opponent. This is nice to have, and again, it's not needed, and it does not scale super high. However, it does become noticeable when you have high stacks of dark energy. Lastly, moving on to synergies, there's only one important one that I really want to showcase right now, which is going to be negative synergy with Venom and a champ that has yet to be announced yet. For Mr. Negative, on the first time you reach 10 stacks of light energy in the match, you're going to gain an indefinite 1% regen buff, which is going to give you a lot of sustainability through the fight. However, in order to keep this regeneration buff through the entire fight, you're going to need to play a very specific niche way that we will be going over here shortly. For Venom, anytime that your genetic memory buff is granted, Venom is going to have a 20% chance to gain a regen buff, healing 10% of all missing health over 9 seconds. This buff does stack, and it can be gained in additional ways, such as when you're at max stacks of your genetic memory buffs. If you throw your heavy to re-roll one, there is still the chance that you'll gain this regen as well. This is so good for Venom. I also have him at rank 3. I love running Negative and Venom together. They're a fantastic pair. It gives both of them a lot of sustainability. So now that we're finally done going over his abilities, let's talk about why Mr. Negative is such a good champ and why you should consider ranking him. This guy has a lot of utility going on for him. I mean, he's got his counterattack on his heavy, which means that you can create your own openings. He has immunity and eventual healing from degeneration. He's got immunity to Nullify, Stagger, and Fate Seal, meaning that all of these things mean that he can deal with Mystics extremely well, not even considering the fact that he has some of the most potent healing and power gain reversal on his special 2 in the game, even higher than Voids in some scenarios. Just know going into learning this champ that he does have an extremely high learning curve, however it is very worth it learning to actually play this champion properly. He will do a lot of good for your account if you just give him the time. So let's actually move on to how to properly play this champion now against my favorite punching bag, Mojo. We're going to look in this fight, we're going to break down what's happening. There's going to be a lot going on, but I'm going to slow it down at a few points so that you can really see. So, first things first, we want to get into this fight and immediately parry or convert a buff so that we get a light energy. Then we're going to charge our heavy in order to convert that and counterattack into dark energy. Keep in mind that you do not want to be charging your heavy in order to counterattack while the opponent has any bars of power, as you will not evade any special attacks. You can only evade basic hits. So we're going to keep dashing back, we're going to evade his specials, look at the dexterity buffs that we're getting, the precisions, they keep on getting converted into light energy whenever we dash back, which you can also see here during the special 2. Again, Mojo does not have any power, so we're going to charge heavy and counterattack, giving us even more dark energy. If you look over on Mojo, because of the exhaustion debuff from our special 1 and the 13 dark energy that we had, we were dealing some additional damage over time to him. We're going to keep moving on, keep evading specials. Here we go with the counterattack again. This time we're going to back up and we're going to parry again, heavy for the Fury, and then throw our special 2 to place the Petrifies and Degens on Mojo. And look at how much damage this is doing at not even max ramp up. We're just melting this guy down. And at this point we can keep on counterattacking whenever we feel like it, whenever he doesn't have any power. We're going to do it again here in a second. There's another counterattack, and we're going to try to finish with a special 1 here. However, it doesn't end up killing, so we end up just throwing an additional heavy and finishing off the match. Keep in mind, this is a tier 2 Alliance War mini-boss, and we just finished that fight with 99% health despite taking a lot of degeneration thanks to the Awakened ability. Next up, we're going to look at a couple of different playstyles for Mr. Negative, starting with the no dashing back playstyle. Now, let's remember that any time that we dash back, we're going to convert any active buffs on ourselves into light energy. Our goal here is to never actually do that in this fight, because we will be running with the Venom Synergy. If you remember, this grants a permanent 1% regeneration buff for the rest of the fight, as long as it doesn't get converted the first time that you reach 10 light energy in the match. Through this fight, we're mostly going to be parry heavying, keeping the opponent in the corner and just eating his specials into our block, repairing whenever we can in order to build up even more light energy. And then we're going to counterattack on instances where it looks like he might heavy, or if we want to build up dark energy in order to throw our special 2. I am mostly just going to let this fight play out. It's not the most interesting. In my opinion, this is not a realistic playstyle in pretty much any scenarios with him. We're going to look at his other ones later on. Basically, you want to be playing this guy in a very mixed fashion. You want to be parrying, you want to be dashing back, you want to be converting your buffs, you want to be doing all sorts of things. And this guy's so complicated that there's really no set in stone, quote-unquote best way to do things. So anyways, like I said, I'm going to let this one play out. I did cut it short at the end, and then we will be moving on to the no parrying playstyle next. Next up, we have our no parry playstyle. This playstyle is going to completely rely on converting our active buffs into light energy by dashing backwards. As you can see here, we immediately removed our dexterity buff from ourselves and then used that in order to intercept the opponent with our counterattack. A few interesting things here. Man-Thing is completely countered by Mr. Negative. He will never be armor broken or poisoned from his pustules due to the fact that they only trigger when a buff is nullified. So that makes him a very good Man-Thing counter. Additionally, his counterattack does count as an assisted intercept, so things like this note has Foresight, it will work extremely well for that and give us the damage boost. Other nodes such as Aspect of War, Aegis Intercept, even Ebb and Flow Intercept in War or something, they will all work with this counterattack. This fight does have Do Not Go Gentle on it as well, so our counterattack will also take care of that for us. This one is a little bit slower due to the fact that we are playing very carefully and trying not to parry. I think I do mess up at one point here a little bit later on. However, This fight is very smooth. As you can see, we're at 100% health, never blocking a hit, and even though the AI is being a little bit weird due to the nodes here. Yeah, right there I accidentally parried, but let's just pretend that I didn't for the sake of argument. This playstyle will be very useful in matchups such as stun immunes or other instances where you're going to be punished for blocking or your stuns will fail. This is extremely viable. This is a technique that I use very often in war and in other aspects when I use Mr. Negative. It is, in my opinion, a much better idea than the no dashing back playstyle, especially because it doesn't rely on any synergies. Speaking of synergies, we're going to go over the Nick Fury evade synergy now against an aggression regen Rhino here. I see a lot of misconceptions that Mr. Negative needs the Nick Fury evade synergy. However, I do not ever play him with this. A lot of YouTubers that I've seen, a lot of people that talk about Mr. Negative say, oh, well, you know, he requires this in order to be good. It completely transforms the character, blah, blah, blah. And it does make him better. It does give him a lot of benefits. Whenever you counterattack, when you still have your Nick Fury evade charges, you're actually going to get twice as much dark energy as you would normally. It technically counts as 2 evades towards his abilities for some reason. This includes also granting 2 delirium debuffs at the same time. So as you can see there, we jumped immediately up to 20 charges because of our counterattacks, and then we're going to completely reverse this regen and just nuke him down. And again, this synergy is not needed whatsoever. I never personally use it. It does give him some benefits, however, do not think that you need to have this whole team going for him. Mr. Negative doesn't need any synergies to be, in my opinion, a top tier champion. Next up, we're going to look at a matchup that will take away his ability to evade counterattack, being a True Strike Blade. This matchup did get cut off partway through just because it is not a very enjoyable fight to do whatsoever. The issue here with True Strike is, like I said, you cannot counterattack when you're charging your heavy due to the fact that it is an evade. This means that it is much more difficult to properly stack up your dark energy, and the only way you'll be able to convert is either by throwing your L1 like I did here, or instead by getting knocked down, which in most cases you really don't want to do. This is very difficult to throw off a very big special 2 with a lot of degen damage, and additionally the fact that this is Blade, whenever I do throw the special 2, I accidentally do it with too much power, or when he has too much power, so my degeneration does not last for nearly long enough. In these stun immune matchups, you basically want to, at least for me, build up to 9 light energy, convert that into dark energy with your special 1, and then build back up to just under your special 2, and then convert any other additional light energy that you get along the way into dark energy through your special 1 again, and then throwing that special 2 for hopefully a big damage if you can get up to it in time. Next up, we're going to be looking at a Stun Immune Spite Clairvoyant matchup. Now, inversely from the True Strike match, this could actually benefit us and make it even easier in order to get a really big special 2 off, because anytime that we parry, we're going to gain 2 more light energy charges. Now, if you can reparry, this is going to allow you to very, very rapidly build up these charges in order to convert them into dark and get up to, high stacks for big degen off of the special 2. As you see here, we are reparrying a lot of times, we're just evading your specials, and anytime we go to counterattack, we're going to convert. Here, we're going to launch a big special 2 with 16 dark energy charges, leading to 17 total degens, and just look at her health melting away. Now, this Black Widow, even if we had any buffs on us right now, would have all that power gain reversed due to our petrifies. And additionally, we are also dealing small amount of direct damage back to her through our awakened ability. Next up, we're going to take a look at the Flare Power Shield Man-Thing boss from 7.2.4. As we saw earlier, Mr. Negative works extremely well for all Man-Thing matchups due to the fact that he cannot be poisoned or armor broken from Man-Thing's abilities due to being Nullify immune. Now in this matchup, we can actually convert all of the additional buffs that Man-Thing is placing on us through his special 1 and 2 attacks into additional light energy charges. And because of Power Shield here, as soon as we throw this special 2, the degeneration damage is just going to nuke him down and make this fight over instantly. So here we're going to charge our heavy and then parry again and start our heavy cancel into special 2 in order to get huge special 2 off and be dealing 36,000 damage per tick. This is obviously over at this point, and there is Man-Thing down very easily with Mr. Negative. Moving on to our next fight, we have an aspect of evolution and 100% bonus power gain rate Doctor Strange mini-boss in Alliance War. For this fight, we do have a Mr. Fantastic Petrify pre-fight placed for us in order to keep the fight under control in the early stages before we get to our special 2. Now this is a rank 3 Doctor Strange mini-boss, and his power gain can get very out of control in this fight. So we're going to start off just by playing a little bit normally. We're going to parry heavy here in order to refresh the Petrify. And then here shortly, we're going to try to convert our light energy into dark. However, we're going to do this in a very interesting way. Here we're going to hold block and then also wait till he's charging at us in order to start charging the heavy. You can't even see that I'm charged my heavy. But I did, and then it got the counterattack off in order to let me, convert that energy. Here we're going to throw the special 2, and the Petrifies, thank God, are going to shut down his power rate right before he gets to his special 3. Here we're going to keep playing aggressively and get him backed into the corner. Now because of the Petrifies, we can just start heavy spamming in the corner so we don't have to worry about high ground anymore. And then Doctor Strange is going to be going down in just under 1 minute at 40 hits exactly. Next up, we have one of my favorite fights that I wanted to showcase, and that is going to be a Footloose Connect Transference shared Mojo fight in Section 2 for the middle path in Alliance War. We did boost up a little bit going into this fight. I wanted to make sure that I didn't die. I believe this was one of the first matchups I ever played right after I had gotten my Mr. Negative awakened. As you see here, we're just trying to play normally. We're trying to not let him get too much power. We're going to fully evade his special 2 and wait out the evade and unstoppable. And here we're going to charge heavy into our special 2, and then this match is over now. Here we accidentally blocked a hit, but thanks to the Petrifies, we actually removed all of the power that Mojo was supposed to gain from there, and now we have him down in 39 seconds for a very beefy Mojo shared fight in 24 hits. For the last fight that I wanted to showcase, I went into the Abyss, and I decided that I wanted to attempt to solo Abyss Dormammu. This is the first and only time that I've attempted to do this. This was on the live server. I used my own personal revives and potions getting through Luke Cage because I hate that fight with a burning passion, and I just wanted to see if this was going to be possible. So I had a couple of boosts going. I threw on the Mr. Fantastic pre-fights to start the fight fully degeneration immune, and you're going to see in this fight I will be taking constant degen. However, thanks to my awakened ability and these debuffs that are on Dormammu, we're just going to be constantly healing. This is while the parry bug is going on, so there's a couple of points where I try to parry and end up accidentally taking a couple of hits, and other times I just mess up and take like some unnecessary damage. I'm going to end this fight with 100% health, and that really goes to show just how good Mr. Negative is in these degeneration matchups. This is not a fun fight in the Abyss, as most of us know who have done it. Most of the time, people just use Human Torch and brute force it down with Nova Flames if they can. Mr. Negative made it a joke. Like I said, this was the only time that I've attempted it. This was my first try. Went in just kind of guessing if it would be possible, and we got the solo. So through this fight, I want y'all to take a look and try to remember the things that we've talked about earlier in the video, and look at when I am counterattacking, when I'm charging my heavy, when I'm throwing my specials. This is a great showcase for basically all of the utility that Mr. Negative can use. And I know in this video I've used a lot of Mystic matchups. That's mostly because Negative is extremely good against Mystics in general. That does not mean that he is bad against other champs. Just think of it like Human Torch. That's honestly a great comparison that I can make for him. Mr. Negative is very similar to Torch in that he is very, very good against Mystics. He gets a lot of benefits against them. And he's still really good against matchups that aren't Mystics. I just happen to show off a lot of them in this video because I'm trying to showcase a lot of his utility. So I'm going to let this video play out, and I hope that it's useful in being able to showcase when to do certain things, when you want to use specific parts of his kit, and just how everything melts together so well. So I will be back as soon as this matchup is over. Alright, so I hope that this video has been helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. If you did end up making it this far, I really appreciate this. Honestly, this is the first real edited video. This is the first voiceover video that I've ever done, so I hope that I've done a good enough job explaining everything. I'm very passionate about Mr. Negative as a character. I think that he's, one of the best options in the science class, and I think that, there's a lot of misconceptions out there right now, so I hope that this video has helped clear some of those things up. If you did find it interesting, or you think that it's helped, again, please just let me know. Feel free to drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you want. I'm uploading a lot of random videos, a lot of war videos. I can't really guarantee how often I'll be doing big breakdowns like this, but I do plan on doing another one soon for another champion that I love, probably going to be Kingpin. So yeah, I hope that you've enjoyed this, and if it's been helpful or any other questions, please ask away. I'm here and I'm more than happy to help. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Y'all take care.